guys, and welcome back to my channel, Miss Bennett Maths. In today's video, we're going to be looking at the area of a trapezium. It would be a good idea for you to get some paper and make some notes on this, as there are a few questions for you to have a go at during the video. To understand how to work out the area of a trapezium, you must first of all understand how to work out the area of a parallelogram. If you're not sure of how to do this, there's a video on my page showing you how to work out the area of a parallelogram. Let's get started. Here's a trapezium. Some important properties about a trapezium are they have one pair of parallel sides, and it's important that you can identify those so that we can look at the area of a trapezium. If we take this trapezium and we label the parallel sides A and B, these will be given in the question. There will be two measurements. Make sure the measurements are in the same units. We also have the height of the trapezium. This is the perpendicular height. Before I go through this, what are your ideas for finding the area of this trapezium? Press pause to give yourself some time to think. Okay, so here's my trapezium. The first thing I need to do is I need to take two trapeziums. Can you rearrange these two trapeziums to make a parallelogram? Well, if I turn the second trapezium upside down, then of course A and B will also switch upside down, push them together, and there I have myself a parallelogram. When we're working out the area of a parallelogram, we know that it's the base multiplied by the height. The base of this trapezium is A plus B. It's the two sides added together. Okay, so the base is A plus B. I'm multiplying this by the height. If I do the base multiplied by the height, that's going to give me the area of these two trapeziums together. I only want one of them. So, once I've done the base multiplied by the height, I then need to halve this just to get one of these trapezium. So my final step is to divide it by 2. This is the formula for the area of a trapezium. It would be a good idea for you to make a note of this for future revision. Let's have a look at this question. I've identified the two parallel sides. These are always A and B. And this is the perpendicular height, 5. So the first step is to write down the formula of the area of a trapezium. Then you simply substitute, put in the values that you have in the question. I know my A and B, and I know my height. So I'm going to do A plus B, 3 plus 7, multiplied by the height, and divide it by 2. Well, 3 plus 7 is 10. So now I have 10 multiplied by 5 divided by 2. Then I'm going to do 10 multiplied by 5, which is 50, and 50 divided by 2 gives me 25 centimetres squared. This is your final answer. Here are some questions for you to have a go at. When you're done, you can check your answers. For the first 4 questions, these are your answers. I'll quickly talk you through how I've got these. For the first question, 3 plus 6 times that answer by 4 and half it gives you 18. For the second one, 2 plus 5 multiplied by the height and half it. For the third question, you'll see that these two are the parallel sides. So I'm doing 7 plus 10, which is 17, multiplied by the height. This question is simply a trapezium turned on its side. Remember, this is not the height we're using. We must use the perpendicular height, which is the one that meets at a right angle. So 17 times by 8, half it, gives me 68. For the final question on this one, I've got a right-angled trapezium. Two parallel sides added together, multiplied by the perpendicular height, and half gives me 36 centimetres squared. For the next 3 questions, slightly harder. These questions want you to work out the area of the coloured section. For the first question, you needed to work out the area of the trapezium and subtract the area of the rectangle. You should have got 37.5 for the trapezium, 6 centimetres squared for the rectangle, subtract them, 31.5 centimetres squared. For the second question, you've got a trapezium, subtract the triangle, leaving you with the shape that is shaded in. The trapezium, 3 plus 7 is 10, multiplied by 12 is 120, half of that is 60. And for the triangle, base multiplied by height is 12, half it is 6. So 60 subtract 6 is 54 centimetres squared. For the final question, you've got a rectangle and they've cut out a trapezium from that. 120 for the rectangle, which is the base times the height, subtract the two parallel sides added together, which is 16, multiplied by 4, 64, half of that is 32. Subtract them from each other, leaves you with 88. For the final two questions, you're working backwards. If you want to check your answers, here they are. I'm going to go through these in a little bit more detail for those of you who are not quite sure. So for the first question, we're going to write down the formula for the area of a trapezium and substitute in the values that we know. So I know that the A and the B is 6 and x. The perpendicular height is 4. Divide that by 2 will give us the area, which is told in the question is 34 centimetres squared. Now all the units are already in centimetres, the area is in centimetres squared, so I know that my answer is going to be in centimetres. So I need to reverse all the operations that I've got on this, and we're working backwards to work out x. So for this I've done these two numbers added together, then multiplied it by 4, and then divided it by 2. So I'm going to do the inverse of each of those in the opposite direction. So the first thing that I did was I added 6, then I times by 4, and then I divided by 2. So I'm going to do the opposite of that. So I'm going to times by 2, divide by 4, and subtract 6. So I'm also going to times this side by 2, divide this side by 4, and take away 6. So what do I get? When I multiply both sides by 2, I get 6 plus x times by 4 equals 68. Divide both sides by 4, I get 6 plus x equals 17. And then subtract 6 from both sides, leaving me with x is equal to 17 take away 6, which is 11 centimetres. For the very last question, the same thing again. I've got the formula over here, and I'm just going to put all of these values, a and b, the height and the area given in the question. So I start with the a plus b, 6 plus 12, multiplied by the height, divided by 2, gives us the area from the question. Again, the area is in centimetres squared, the measurements given in the question are in centimetres, my answer is going to be in centimetres. So what have I done first to this equation? So on this side here, I can first of all simplify this part here. So I get 6 plus 12 is 18, times that by x and divide it by 2 is 63. So I'm just trying to get x on its own. So I've timesed x by 18 and then I've divided by 2. I have timesed by 18 and then divided by 2. So I'm going to do the opposite of this, then the opposite of this. So that means I'm going to times by 2 and divide by 18. So what do I get? If I multiply the left side by 2, I get 18 times by x, and that is equal to 2 lots of 63, which is 126. And then I am dividing both sides by 18, which gives me x is equal to 7. If you have any questions about this video, make sure to comment below. Like and subscribe if this video has been helpful to stay tuned for more maths videos in the future. Thanks for watching and I'll see you next time. Bye!